Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel, The Glammed Rebel. I hope everyone's having a good day. Please like, comment, and subscribe for daily updates. B&B recap. As Nick proposes to Brooke, Ridge is surprised Taylor has made wedding plans. The unspoken promise and the unearthed past. A tale of two rings. The air in the Forrester Creations executive suite, usually buzzing with the frantic energy of high fashion, was today thick with a fragile, post-traumatic calm. It was the quiet that follows a storm, a collective exhale after a crisis averted. Donna and Katie Logan, their faces etched with a mixture of relief and residual anxiety, enveloped their sister, Brooke, in a cocoon of familial warmth. Eric Forrester, the patriarch whose steady presence had anchored them all through so many tempests, stood beside his son, Ridge, with a quiet pride in his eyes. They were back. They were safe. "It's just so good to have you all here," Donna said, her voice trembling slightly as she squeezed Brooke's arm, as if to physically reassure herself of her sister's solidity. "We were so worried," Katie added, her gaze fixed on Brooke, searching her face for any lingering shadows of the ordeal. Brooke Logan Forrester, a woman for whom drama was a second language, offered a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. The terror of the fall, the suffocating blackness of the water, was still a fresh wound. But something else lingered, too, a memory far more powerful than the fear. "Ridge saved my life," she said, her voice a soft, reverent whisper. As she spoke the words, the world around her dissolved. She was no longer in the familiar, sun-drenched office of Forrester, but back in the churning, cold sea. The memory wasn't of panic, but of the moment just after. It was the image of Ridge's face, etched with raw terror and fierce determination, breaking through the surface. It was the strength of his arms pulling her from the abyss, his body a shield against the elements. And it was his voice, hoarse with emotion, as he held her close on the boat, the world reduced to just the two of them. "I'll make it right, Logan," he had promised, his breath warm against her ear. "I promise you, I'll make everything right." The promise had echoed in her soul, a chord of destiny struck once more. It was more than a pledge to ensure her safety. It was a promise to mend the fractured pieces of their epic, tumultuous love story. It was the affirmation she had been clinging to for months, a beacon in the lonely darkness of his commitment to another woman. She flashed back to that moment, holding on to it like a precious, secret jewel. "It was a scary few days," Eric acknowledged, his voice pulling Brooke from her reverie. He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "The important thing is that you're all right, my dear." The conversation inevitably turned to the catalyst for the near tragedy. "What Grace did to Liam, it's just barbaric," Katie said, shaking her head in disbelief. The sheer malice of the act was a stark reminder of the dangers that lurked just beneath the surface of their glamorous lives. The relief that Liam would be around for years to come, for his daughters, was a palpable presence in the room, a silent prayer of thanks. But even in this moment of reunion and relief, the central, unspoken tension began to thrum. Ridge, who had been standing with a quiet, brooding intensity, finally shifted his weight. "There's somewhere I have to be," he announced, his voice flat, avoiding Brooke's gaze. A cold dread, familiar and sharp, pierced through the warmth of Brooke's reverie. She didn't have to ask. Her heart, which had soared with the memory of his promise, now plummeted. "You're going to see Taylor," she stated, the words a hollow echo of her disappointment. Ridge's silence was its confirmation. He gave a curt, almost imperceptible nod to his father and a fleeting glance at Brooke's sisters, and then he was gone. The door clicked shut behind him, the sound as final as a gavel. The change in the room was immediate. The fragile peace shattered, and the air crackled with Brooke's pain. Her sisters, experts in the cartography of her heart, moved in closer. "Brooke," Katie prompted gently. Tears welled in Brooke's eyes, hot and unwelcome. It's hard," she confessed, her voice thick with unshed emotion. It's so difficult to know he's with her, especially now. What transpired has consequences that last. We shared something out there on that water. It was magical. She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to hold onto the feeling, to protect it from the harsh reality of Ridge walking out the door and into Taylor Hayes' arms. That promise, I'll make everything right, now felt like a cruel taunt. How could he make things right with her when he was living a life with another woman? Eric, ever her champion, stepped forward. His expression was a mixture of fatherly concern and unshakable conviction. "Brooke, listen to me," he said, his tone firm. "My son is a good man, but he is a conflicted man. He belongs with you. He always has. He just needs a little more time to find his way back." He gave her a reassuring smile. "Now, Donna and I have some work to do, but you know where to find me if you need anything." As Eric and Donna departed, leaving the two sisters alone, the weight of the situation seemed to settle more heavily on Brooke. Katie put a comforting arm around her. "I'm so glad I didn't lose you, big sister," she murmured, her fear from the incident resurfacing. A new presence at the door interrupted their quiet moment. A man emerged at the door, his eyes brimming with a history of shared passion and pain. Nick Marone. "I heard what happened," he said, his voice laced with genuine concern as he stepped into the office. "I had to see for myself that you were okay." He looked from Brooke to Katie and back again. "And I needed to clear some things up." Katie, sensing the shift in energy and the arrival of a different kind of complication, gave her sister a knowing look. I'll leave you two to talk," she said, making a graceful exit. Alone with Nick, Brooke felt a wave of complex emotions. He was a ghost from a chapter of her life she had thought long closed. "Nick," she said, a faint smile touching her lips. "It's good to see you." "Good to see you breathing," he countered, his tone serious. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of agitation. "I am devastated, Brooke. Absolutely devastated that you fell from my boat." "My boat." He began to pace, the picture of self-recrimination. "I keep playing it over and over. What if I'd been there? What if I hadn't let you go out on the deck alone? I'm being too hard on myself, I know, but damn it." "Nick, it wasn't your fault," she assured him. He stopped, his gaze locking with hers. "Maybe not, but the important thing is that you're okay. That Ridge, that he got to you in time." The mention of Ridge's name was laced with a familiar, years-old bitterness. He sighed, a sound heavy with regret. "You know, this whole situation has made me realize a few important things. It's time for me to leave LA. There's nothing for me here." "You don't have to go," Brooke said softly, a genuine note of sympathy in her voice. That was all the opening he needed. The dam of his carefully constructed composure broke. "Don't I?" he scoffed. "Everywhere I look in this town, it's him. It's always Ridge Forrester, the hero swooping in to save the day." He stepped closer, his voice dropping, becoming more intimate. "I keep thinking about Naples, Brooke, about how things ended between us. It was all wrong. I wish so many things had been different. I had plans for you, for us." Before she could process his words, his hand went to his jacket pocket. He pulled out a small, velvet-covered box. With a flick of his thumb, he cracked it open. Inside, nestled on a bed of white satin, was a ring. The diamond was exquisite, capturing the light and reflecting it in 1,000 brilliant shards. Brooke shuddered. It was an involuntary, full-body reaction. The sight of the ring was a shock to her system, a tangible representation of a path not taken, a future she had never allowed herself to imagine since their last, painful goodbye. "It's not over for us, Brooke," Nick said, his voice a low, passionate thrum. He held the box out to her, a desperate plea in his eyes. "It has never been over for me, because I love you. I have always loved you." She stared at the ring, a maelstrom of confusion, nostalgia, and overwhelming emotion swirling within her. Ridge had just saved her life, made her a silent promise, and then walked out to be with another woman. And now here was Nick, a man from her past, offering her a future, a different kind of love, and a different kind of life. She was raw and vulnerable, and her heart was an open wound. After a long, breathless moment, she lifted her gaze from the glittering diamond to his earnest face. A single tear traced a path down her cheek. "I love you too," she whispered. The words hung in the air, ambiguous and heavy with the weight of all they had ever been to each other. Was it the nostalgic love for a man who had once been her husband? Was it a platonic love for a dear friend? Or, in her moment of profound heartbreak over Ridge, was it something more? For Nick, it was the only answer that mattered. It was hope. Across the hall, in the vibrant chaos of the design office, a different kind of love story was unfolding, one marked by the unique anxieties of a new generation. Electra and Will were huddled together, their conversation a low murmur against the backdrop of sketches and fabric swatches. "It was so brave," Electra was saying, her eyes wide. Ridge's courageous act of diving into the ocean to save Brooke was remarkable. It was similar to how he saved me from Remy, she thought. She recognized the parallel. Ridge Forrester, the benevolent protector of Los Angeles's women. "He's a good guy," Will agreed, his arm draped comfortably around her shoulders. "But let's talk about you. Everything's been going so great lately, but if you're not okay, you can tell me. You can always open up to me." His perceptiveness chipped away at her carefully constructed facade. She leaned into his embrace, drawing strength from his closeness. "I'm still struggling," she admitted, the confession barely a whisper. "The deep fake porn, it's a trauma. I try to act like it's fine, but it's always there in the back of my mind." Will pulled her closer, cuddling her. "You always show up right when I need you," she murmured into his chest, her voice muffled. "Remy is a disgusting piece of trash," he said with a sudden, sharp anger. "But I'm here now. I promise I will always be here for you." His words were a balm to her frayed nerves. "Your love, your understanding. It's given me a sense of security I didn't think I'd feel again," she told him, pulling back to look into his eyes. "Being back on social media, it hasn't been easy. Every time I post something on social media, I feel afraid. Afraid that more deep fakes will appear. But I've found a way to make it fun again, to reclaim it." She paused, her expression turning serious. "But it has made me more aware, more cautious, about everything, including us." He knew what she meant. They had been taking things slowly, painstakingly so. He respected her boundaries and understood the psychological scars she carried from such a profound violation. "I know we've taken things slowly," he said, his voice gentle. "I want you will," she assured him, her gaze intense and unwavering. "You know I do. But can you wait? Can you wait until I'm really ready?" "No rush," he promised, his voice the epitome of patience and understanding. He pulled her into a hug, his face hidden from her view. As she clung to him, finding solace in his embrace, Will Spencer rolled his eyes. It was a fleeting, almost imperceptible gesture, but it was laden with a world of meaning. It was the crack in the perfect, supportive boyfriend facade. Was it simple youthful impatience? Was there a hint of frustration at the rapid pace of their relationship? Or did it hint at something deeper, a weariness with her trauma, a sign that his promise to always be there had an unspoken expiration date? Their idyllic young love faced a shadow of doubt in that single, private moment. A very different domestic scene unfolded miles away in the stately comfort of Eric Forrester's home. The atmosphere here was one of deliberate, almost forced domesticity. Kelly and Ridge's young daughter, Taylor, was on the floor, her tongue sticking out in concentration as she drew a picture with her crayons. "What's that you're drawing, sweetie?" Taylor asked, her voice a soft, maternal coo. "It's for the wedding," Kelly announced proudly, holding up a piece of paper with two stick figures, one in a tuxedo and one in a white dress, surrounded by hearts. "For you and Daddy." Just then, the front door opened and Ridge walked in. The tension from his meeting at Forrester still clung to him like a shroud. but he tried to shake it off as he saw his daughter. He knelt, admiring her handiwork. "Wow, look at that." "Impressive," he said, his voice a low rumble. He stood, walked to Taylor, and pulled her into a kiss that was more growl than greeting, a possessive, territorial gesture, as if trying to physically brand himself back into this life, this family. The children, oblivious to the undercurrents, chattered on. "Daddy, you should take Mommy to Naples for your honeymoon." Beth, Liam, and Hope's daughter suggested brightly. Ridge flinched internally at the mention of Naples, the city Nick had just invoked with such longing. It was another thread connecting him back to Brooke, a thread he was desperately trying to sever. Taylor, ever perceptive, quickly redirected. "Oh, Naples is lovely," she said smoothly, "but I was thinking we should go back to St. Thomas. That's where it all started for us. Remember Ridge?" She looked at him, her eyes shining with the memory. "We enjoyed that champagne on the beach, and then we went searching for pirate's treasure." She held up her hand, twisting the unique ring on her finger. "You dug up this treasure box and my ring was inside. It was the most romantic day of my life." She was not just reminiscing. She was anchoring him. She was reminding him of their story, their destiny, a narrative to counteract the one Brooke believed was written for her and Ridge. Yes, St. Thomas. Beth squealed, instantly sold on the romantic tale. "You should definitely go back there." The girl suddenly got an idea, her eyes lighting up, and she hurtled out of the room on a mysterious mission. The moment the children left, the fragile facade crumbled. The air grew heavy again. "You're thinking about her," Taylor said. It wasn't a question. "You're considering saving Brooke." "I was thinking about work," Ridge lied, his voice strained. "It was all wonderful until Nick Marone showed up, stirring the pot, making a mess of things." "I'm sure that was hard on you," Taylor said, her voice dripping with a carefully calibrated sympathy that bordered on condescension. "And on your father. Brooke was married to both of them, and to your brother, Thorne. There's a pattern there with her, Ridge. She has a history of becoming involved with the men in your family." The words were delivered with the precision of a surgeon, designed to cut away at Brooke's legitimacy in his heart, to frame her as a problem, a chaotic force. "I don't want to talk about Brooke," he said, the words a low growl. He deflected, gesturing towards the living room. "Let's talk about Kelly. Look how excited she is for our wedding." It was the opening Taylor had been waiting for. "She is," Taylor agreed, a soft smile playing on her lips. "And speaking of that, I've started making some plans." Ridge's reaction was telling. He didn't smile back. He didn't lean in with excitement. He nodded, a short, sharp, non-committal gesture, and then he snorted. The sound was a small, involuntary expression of derision, disbelief, or perhaps sheer exhaustion. The sound hung in the air between them. "What is it?" Taylor pressed, her smile tightening. "What are we waiting for, Ridge? I know you're struggling. I know what you just went through. Jumping into the sea to rescue Brooke. It was traumatic for you, too." She moved closer, her hands finding his arms, her touch a mixture of comfort and control. "I understand that, but you cannot let her use this. You can't let her use your heroism, your shared history, to manipulate you back into her orbit. You deserve a life of peace, Ridge. A life where you won't be constantly pulled back into the chaos. A life without manipulation." Her plea was powerful, a siren song of stability and sanity. She was offering him an off-ramp from the turbulent highway of his life with Brooke. She gazed up at him, her eyes full of a love that was both fierce and possessive. "I love you just as much today as I did on that beach in St. Thomas," she whispered. "I love you too," Ridge replied, the words sounding automatic, rehearsed. He was a man caught in a riptide, and he was saying the words he knew were expected of him, the words that might keep him from being pulled under. Just then, Kelly came running back into the room, a wedding magazine in her hands. "Mommy, Daddy, look. I'm so excited about this wedding." she exclaimed, clambering onto Ridge's lap and opening the magazine to a picture of a bride and groom. Ridge pulled his daughter close, the warmth of her small body a grounding presence. He looked over her head at Taylor, who was beaming at him, her face a perfect portrait of the delighted, soon-to-be wife. It was the picture of the life he had chosen, the future he had promised her. It was stable. It was safe. It was everything he was supposed to want. But as he stared into the face of his future bride, his mind was miles away, back in the churning sea, his ears ringing with a different promise, made to a different woman. "I'll make it right, Logan." He was trapped between two women, two lives and two destinies. One held a ring from a treasure box, a symbol of a past he was being urged to recreate. The other was now staring at a different ring, from a different man, a ghost of her own past unearthed. The stage was set, the players were in place, and the heart of Ridge Forrester, the ultimate prize, was more embattled and uncertain than ever before. You are welcome to share any video requests in the comments. I will make a video about it. Stay connected with the Glammed Rebel for all the latest updates, spoilers, and deep dive recaps. See you in the next video. Please stay safe and healthy. I hope God keeps you safe. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell button for